Last night was the 2025 Royal Rumble, and the winner of the Men's Rumble and who will be going on to WrestleMania to challenge for any world championship that he chooses is Jey Uso. I've been watching wrestling for over 30 years, and I have been upset by certain storyline directions, and I have been shocked by certain storyline directions. And in this case, I'm shocked. And I really do believe that there isn't anyone on the WWE roster who deserves this moment more than Jey. Even though this Rumble was star-studded, John Cena, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, a lot of guys that you could genuinely make a case for to be a winner. So I think the question is, why Jey Uso and why now? And I think there are some life lessons that are tied to the answer to that question. And that is why I always say that everything is wrestling. Let's talk about it. What's going on, everybody? My name is Armond WakeUp, and I want to get right into the video. So I think that there's some reasons why Jey Uso wins the Royal Rumble and goes to WrestleMania. And I think a big reason for that is consistency. Not only is Jey one half of the Usos, one of the most consistent, notable, decorated tag teams in WWE history, he has also been on an incredible singles run for the last 5 years, earning the nickname Main Event Jey Uso. Jey was a big part of the Bloodline story that was largely centered around Roman Reigns. And during the pandemic, when a lot of that foundation was being laid, WWE didn't want Roman on TV every week, wrestling all the time. And so Jey filled that role literally every single Friday on SmackDown. He is in the main event. The Bloodline is the hottest thing going. And so Jey Uso's in that spot, essentially getting reps up. A lot of matches with a lot of different people who were at that main event level, as he was kind of a buffer between that particular wrestler and an eventual program with Roman Reigns, right? But in that, there was an opportunity there to create some space and establish himself as a solo act. Going from a tag team to singles work is a really difficult transition. In fact, I would say a lot of wrestlers are not successful at it. The most successful is probably Shawn Michaels from the Rockers, right? And he is the exception, not the rule. And I feel like it's even worse with Jey and Jimmy being twins. It was really, really hard to separate the two, even visually. That consistency of always being in the ring, always being in the main event. He gets an opportunity to essentially sharpen his sword and get better week in, week out. He gets to refine techniques. He gets to improve his skill set. And from that, he develops pretty strong consistency and reliability. And that consistency and reliability creates trust, not only with the audience, but also with upper management who makes the decisions. And in turn, that steady presence creates open doors of opportunities. I really believe that people felt like they could count on Jey. And that's big, especially in wrestling. Given the grueling schedule, wrestlers' bodies break down, it's mentally taxing. Jey being able to show up and perform at a high level just really helps establish him as a solo act. Think about it, man. That consistency is a muscle that builds over time. You know what I'm saying? Think about the thing that you are trying to build and be successful in. What does consistency look like for you? Is it every day? Is it once a week, once a month, once a quarter? And how much time are you going to give yourself to build up that muscle and wait for that payoff? For Jey, it's been 5 years. How long would it take you? You know what I'm saying? You know, that patience is so important. I'm sure there are times where you felt like you were being consistent, you weren't seeing the results that you were looking for, and you just quit. But ask yourself, what would happen if you kept going, if you kept showing up, if you kept, as they say, getting to the door? That persistence and that consistency, as you're waiting on that door to open, it builds character. It really does. That character will help sustain you as you wait. It will help you overcome some hurdles that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to if that muscle wasn't being developed. Because a lot of times that opportunity that we feel like we're waiting for, we don't realize it, but we really not ready. The wait that we experience It is a time of refinement and strengthening, stripping and adapting for you to be able to handle the opportunity. So with that, there's a lot of criticism that I'm seeing in regards to Jey winning the Rumble. Specifically that he is nothing more than a catchphrase and an entrance. You know, I saw a clip last week of him performing a spear. I think it was on Gunther, and it wasn't the cleanest spear. So now he's getting the he can't wrestle pushback. Additionally, I've seen people say Jey got a prominent spot in last year's WrestleMania against his brother, and the match was really bad. Now that critique, I'll agree with 100%. That was not a good match at all. I think there's something to say to that, honestly. When you are being consistent and when you are being persistent, and as that character develops, you become confident in who you are and what you contribute. And those things may not be appealing to everybody. And I think that understanding of who you are and what you bring to the table allows that criticism to just kind of roll off of your back. It just exists, right? Whereas if that's not there, it may cause you to try to switch things up. You may end up losing favor and trust with the audience and with management and the decision makers. They're like, yo, why is he doing this? Imagine if Jey comes out to the ring, he doesn't do this, right? People are gonna be like, what are you doing? What if he cuts a promo and he stops saying yeet? They're like, what are you doing? What if he comes out and he's not wearing his glasses or his merch, or essentially, despite the criticism, he has to continue doing what got him to the dance. And that is a huge parallel, huge life lesson, right? It's so easy to let that critique allow you to switch things up. And yes, you should adapt. You can make changes, all in an attempt to get better. If you listen to the critiques and that causes you to do a complete overhaul and essentially removes the authenticity of your consistency, there's a big problem. And I guarantee you likely won't be successful in the way that you'd like to be. Additionally, man, you know, a lot of people were like, well, John Cena was in the Rumble. It should have been him. This is his last one. Roman Reigns, CM Punk, et cetera, et cetera. It's so important to pay it forward. Those guys at a certain point in time were the new guy who was next to receive that big opportunity. And the generation before them had to step aside and allow that spotlight to shine on them. So wrestler culture says that when it's the next guy's time, I'll step aside because that continues the culture and the success of the business, right? It's so important when carving your own lane and making your own space to not gatekeep. Don't do it. Pay it forward. The lessons that you learned, developing that character, being consistent and persistent and resilient and all of those things, teach it to the next generation so that they don't have to deal with the same stuff that you did. You know what I'm saying? I mean, gatekeeping is like, it's corny, man. It's so corny. So corny. All right, let's finish. Let's wrap up. I don't think that Jey has gotten the full payoff from this consistency and this work that he's been putting in. And I know that the internet has been really, really negative on this decision. And so I think the last lesson to learn from this is patience. Triple H's booking of storylines has been way better since he took over. However, he is not without mistakes. And I think that there are a million stories that you could tell, but this is wrestling. This is WrestleMania season, and we have a long way to go until April. And I've just been watching wrestling long enough to know that a lot of these stories end up coming full circle. And at the end of the day, I'm just a fan that wants the best for everybody and just hopes that everybody gets the opportunities that they deserve, you know, not just Jey Uso. So what I want you to do, if you've watched all the way to the end of this video, first of all, thank you very much. I want you to take a piece of paper or take out the notes app on your phone. I want you to write down consistency, persistence, resilience, patience. And as it relates to the thing that you're building and that you want to be successful in, what is one practical step that you can take to get closer to one of those traits being stronger in your personal life? And if you want to, you can leave a comment. I also suggest that you head over to ArmondWakeUp.com, sign up for my newsletter. And if you really want to support me, join my Patreon, where there's a community of support and honesty, transparency, vulnerability, strength, all those good things for people who are trying to build and be successful. On that note, my name is Armond WakeUp. Everything is wrestling. Thank you for your time.